Is it audible? So today I'll be talking about hacking and securing iOS apps. How many of you are iOS developers here? Okay. So today what I'll be doing is, for the first part, I'll be hacking some of the popular apps. I'll show how insecure those apps are and how you can increase the security level of these apps. So before that, why is it so important? Hacking is a bad word, right? And why this is important to know about this stuff? Do people really hack with an intention to steal your data? Or what is the intention? I'll just play a short clip.
Full of fun seems to be the ideal. Western lets you hide all the sadness you feel. Please remember, I still want you, and in case you wonder why.
Now this video has nothing to do with iOS. I just wanted to show you that people hack just for the fun of it. They love to hack. Like hackers, they can really do things to make your life nightmare. If you are building an early day startup and you have acquired like 10,000 users, let's say in 5 months, people can do things like deleting those 10,000 users less than 5 minutes. So what are the things that you can, yes? So what are the things that you can do to stop it from happening or to increase the security level of these apps? About me, I won't go through this slide because I have only 45 minutes. So two questions. Is your IE devices are secure? And is the applications that you are building are secure? The answer to both the questions are no. The IE devices are not secure, that's why it's possible to jailbreak those devices. And I'll later show how unsecure or insecure these apps can also be. I'll be talking on how to protect your apps being hacked, not from protecting your own data, and talk about how to protect your phone also. So what exactly you're trying to protect? So imagine you have a user who is running your application on his iDevice. You have several other users who are running the same application on their iDevices. And all the users have like the database access to the system file systems and the bundle directory and all those things. And they access your backend also. So when you're talking about protecting the data, it's about protecting the data of the user who is running the application, protecting the data of other users who are running the same application, and also protecting this data. Now, somebody asked me, when I was posting some screenshots about my talk on Facebook, somebody asked me, why would you hack your own phone? Because the data that you have in your own phone is your own data, right? Your contacts, your notes or whatever, right? But imagine you have lost your phone. It is very easy to jailbreak it without even unlocking it. And if somebody can access those data, somebody can put a runtime code in the application, in the cell prompt, and whenever you make further transactions, those data can be received by the hacker. So Apple's security model is based on both software and hardware. So in software level, they've done quite a lot of things to make sure that they protect the data of the users. So they have user and group permissions. So every app has a different username that runs in its own sandbox, and they cannot access the space of other applications. They make differentiation between data and code, because in other programming languages or in desktop computers, it's possible to inject a code within your data. That's how your jailbreak.me website worked. So there was a bug in the Safari font. So they injected a code in the Safari WebKit to hack the kernel, or to put a patch in the kernel. That's how they're able to compromise the security level of the device. So what exactly happened when you jailbreak? The only thing, in simple terms, the thing that happens is they bypass the code signing mechanism. So Apple makes sure you need to sign your app with a specific certificate, so that they ensure that this is from a valid developer or whatever, and that's how they ensure the application that's being put into App Store. So in jailbreaking platform, your apps are being put in a different third-party App Store, but you can still access the App Store apps, and you can still run certain things on the App Store apps. You can still run a network sniffer. You can still, put a custom code in your device. I'll later show you how it's being done. So there are a few things the hacker can do. It can steal the data from your file system. They can steal the data from network. They can attack your app server. And if it's a jailbroken device, they can put an exploit in the iOS. Typically, iOS developers store their data in an application in this location. NS bundle, document directory, or library directory in the keychain, or they put it in a iCloud or their own server. So without going through furthermore slides, let's hack some apps. Now it's very easy to simply, a lot of time I've been asked this question, is it possible to get the source code from an IPA file? Because when you install an IPA file, you can sync it with your iTunes and you have access to the IPA file on your Mac or Windows, whatever. But can you extract the source code of this IPA file? The visualization is pretty bad. Anyway, let's search an app. Angry Birds. Now this is the IPA file. If you right click on this IPA file on iTunes, there is this thing called Show in Finder. Now these are all my IPA files. You can just copy this IPA file, Now, if you have a tool like Stuff It Expander, you can directly uncompress this file. But if you don't have a Stuff It Expander, then you can just change the extension to zip. Double click on the file, it extracts the payload. Now it's that easy to get the resources of your file. Now if you see this plist file, you have some information over here, and viewers, blah blah blah. Robio, this is the code signing, but this is not of the use, right? So this is your binary file. You right click on the binary file again, and show package contains. This is where you see some more resource files. Generally, plist files, or the files that you generally put in bundle. And you can access to audios, videos, whichever files is being put in the bundle directory. For example, Angry Birds, you can have access to the musics. Now that's a school kid can do. Just uncompress the file, right? And you're accessing the audios, the videos. There are images as well in this thing, and if you want to use the Angry Bird images in your application, then you can use it also. So, but Rovio guys are a little bit smarter, so they have. I'll talk about this file extension later. If you see, it's called PVR, it's not PNG. But here we didn't find any data. There are images, there are audios, there are other things, but we didn't find any data. What will be interesting, a lot of people build offline applications. They make sure that their application don't need to connect to a server, it will work whether there is internet or not. They put their database, they put their XML file, they put their content in the bundle directory. Now if I just unzip, I can access those data, I can hire a designer, I can make a nice looking application, I can use your own data to build an application that's probably looking better, right? So let's see an application which is not built so nicely. Is there anyone in this crowd who has built carparks.sg? No, right? So this is an application that provides you information about various car parks in Singapore. And what is the main value of this application? Is the car parks, right? Is the data that you are displaying? They're providing things like what are the rates, weekly rates, weekend rates, and other things. I'll do the same process to well, they're pretty more information comparing to the other one. This SQLite file is over here. I think they've recently modified it. I'll show you the older version if I still have here. So there are few plist files here. One of the interesting plist file is this full.plist. Now I can see all the car park information. The latitude and longitude, whatever state is there. And I can use the same plist file in my application to build a similar application. Then how do you stop a hacker from hacking these files? So there are two things. You can encrypt these files before putting into the bundle and decrypt it in runtime. Or you can encrypt it in the runtime itself. So there is this application. I'll share the link with you later. I'll share the links for the slides also later. So this is a simple application which is it running? This is a simple web page. There is this HTML file in the bundle directory. You will see this index.html. Now if you go to your target directory and the resolution is pretty bad now.
Can you set it to 1024?
No, display. As high as you can go. Ugh.
Okay, so you have this add build pages icon here. You can click on this and select a add run script. This is where you can is there anyone who is hacking my system?
No, you forgot to accept, so it went back to the old resolution. You have to say accept once you change resolution.
So you can put a shell script here. In this case, it's using a command line tool called script. The script is part of your project as well. And it's looking for this directory name, encrypted resources, and it's encrypting it. If you see the bundle directory, make sure that you remove your file from here. Remove the file from the copy bundle directory. Now I will build this thing. I'll just build the IPA for this and see what information it has when I unzip it. So this is my app file. This is the binary.
It's not really binary.
So package contents, everything is there. You have this encrypted resources also. You have the file also here. But if I open the file, it's encrypted. So whatever files you put in your bundle, make sure it's encrypted. So that's the another thing I want to show here is if I go back to the app that I extracted, these images are not accessible. Although the file is there, it's not accessible. Apple has encoded it in some way that you cannot access it directly. Basically, for reducing the size of these files, that encoded in a certain way. There is this tool called Crunch. So you can choose any application that you like that you have installed and you want to get the images for that. For example, I like an Angry Bird. I'm going to just click next. Just put it over here. And Angry Bird was a bad example because they have this PBR thing here. Probably I'll search Instagram. Now all the Instagram images are here now with me. I can access all the icons that they're using, whatever these things. All these things. So if you like the design of certain application, you want to use the design, this image, these assets, very good. But again, how you secure these things? So if you're coming from a web background, you know about CSS Sprite, right? Combining multiple images together. So PVR is another way to do it in iOS, or you can do it. So this is a video compressing tool. If you see the Angry Bird images, they've combined everything into one big file. So you need to access it separately, and there is no direct way to access it. You need to use OpenJLS to access these images. So you need to create a texture, then access the texture based on the pixels or the size of these images. So you're basically increasing the difficulty level for the hackers to hack your resources. Well, that's about your bundle directory. You have two more directories called document directory and library directory. The tool that you use for creating or extracting PVR files is texture packer. So again, document directory, if you so now I have logged my phone. I'll just a second. I disconnected from the laptop and my phone is locked now. Right. So imagine you have got a stolen phone or you found just a phone, right? Again, there are various ways to get data from this phone. One thing is, this phone is disconnected. I'm connecting it back to the laptop now. It is still locked, but I can access the apps. If you've authorized the system, then you can access using iTunes. But there are other tools I'll show you in a while. Without even authorizing the system, you can access the files in the phone, even if it's locked. So you don't need the key or whatever. So here if you see, there are some applications which are using the document directory. One of these applications is your Sketchpad. So this is more like draw something application where you write notes or whatever. And you have this document directory over here. You can just click on Save To and save the documents. So let's see what we have in the document directory now. So I have some images that I've drawn. So I can access those images without even unlocking the phone. The library directory is a little more secure, so you don't have access to the library directory directly from iTunes. But there is this application called iExplorer. What is changing the resolution? So I have access to all the apps here. That's on my phone. Again, it's locked. The phone is locked. Let's see what information we have on WhatsApp. Right. So WhatsApp stores all the messages, all contact logs in the document directory. This is the chat storage.sqlite. I just save this.
Export.
Now I copied the database file to my system. I use the SQLite manager to see what data I have now in that file. So some database tables, but interesting is this one, messages. Knowingly I've deleted all my messages. So I just have one message that I sent to Eliza this morning. It's like, how's the SF trip? Are you coming to GeekCamp today? So again, the phone is locked. I can access to the messages. Similarly, I can access to the contacts. I can get all the contacts. I can export all the contacts to my system. Then question comes, how do you secure those files? Again, before putting or while you're writing, rather than just storing as flat files, you need to encrypt these files. And the logic for decrypting these files needs to reside in your application code. So that's about getting data from file system, document directory or library directory. Next thing I'm going to show you is how to get data from the network, right? Now, how many of you are Ruby on Rails developers here? Is there any R1 developer here? So, you know, in Ruby on Rails, there is this thing called Scaffold. So people use scaffolding to easily create, delete, and do all these operations. And it takes the URL, and the delete operation is URL, whatever the object name, method name, delete/ID, and that ID is the direct ID of your database table. It's 1, 2, or whatever. Delete. You hit the URL, one user is gone from the database, unless you manage authentication or whatever in your server side. So I'm going to use a tool called Paris. So I've set the system as a proxy, then whatever I can do on my iPhone, I can see it over here. Again, I'm going to hack Instagram now. So see what information they have here. You get this URL or whatever, you see the request and response format. You see the response also, the image is also here. Right? I have if you see the request, this is the URL it's calling, whatever. I can probably copy the URL also. Yeah, some portal, right?
But what you're doing is sniffing, right? Just network sniffing.
Yeah, just network sniffing. So this is a GET request, and GET request is quite okay to get data, although you cannot get sensitive data using just plain URL. If you are accessing your enterprise data and you have just one URL using which you are accessing the data and somebody knows the URL, then he can get all the sensitive information, right? And as I mentioned, in Ruby on Rails, the simple URL can delete a user from the database. Imagine I can run a shell script or a Ruby script, whatever, and I run it on 10,000 users. So in a minute, all your 10,000 users are deleted from the database, unless you do certain kind of mechanism for that. So one way to do it is use HTTPS instead of HTTP. And that will stop it from so users cannot sniff it using this sniffing tool like Wireshark or Parse or whatever. HTTPS cannot be sniffable. But the question is HTTPS also secure? The answer is no. I'll show you in a while. Google is using HTTPS, right? Again, I'm not going to log into my account here. So you see a post request here that goes through.
But that's because you're in the browser. You will not be able to sniff this on the network.
Yeah. So HTTPS is hackable through JavaScript. Basically, that's the point.
No, only because you're in the browser that you're actually using to post the post request. Because the browser has to have the post request, then encrypts it, and then sends it over. So you try to do this when you're on one browser and sniffing another browser, you won't be able to do it.
Yeah, basically you need to have the
You need to be in the browser.
So later I'll show you how you can inject certain codes in certain libraries, and it's possible to inject code to the WebKit framework also.
It's cross-site scripts.
Yeah, so you're doing cross-site scripts.
Yeah. So that was just one point.
So HTTPS is not insecure. It's just the WebKit. WebKit itself has issues, or the way you did the website. There's only one security vulnerability.
So as I mentioned, you need to use post as much as possible and make sure that the data you send or the parameters that you send is really not one can easily capture or understand. For example, if you see all the URLs of Google, like the map URLs or whatever, they use the big IDs like 32-digit character or 64-digit character. You cannot really make a lot of sense until you spend a lot of time on this. Next thing I'm going to show is injecting certain code into my iPhone application and see what happens. So this iPhone is a jailbroken iPhone, and I've installed OpenSSH here, so I can SSH to my iPhone. So I'm logged in as a root user on my iPhone now. So which means I can run any kind of sniffing tool, any kind of background process in my phone and track the activities of your application. So one thing I'm going to show here is they have this directory called mobile applications. Which consists of all the application. Again, this file over here, it doesn't consist of more data than what you saw on iExplorer. It consists of the same data. Your binary is here, but the advantage over here is you can run GDB on command prompt, and you can go to certain, you can access certain libraries, you can access, or you can inject your custom code in runtime. So Objective-C is a like very expressive languages. It works in runtime. So rather than calling methods, you basically pass a message to an object. So do this or do that. So imagine if you can change the value of a variable, and you can ask this object to do certain task. And the compiler or the object won't know whether it comes from the application itself or it's come from another process or whatever. Make sense? So I'll just show how easy it's to extract information. There is a tool called O2 that you can use to find what are the symbol names and what are the function names it uses. For example, what are the libraries being used. So in this case, you can see these are the libraries that's being used, because my hello is basically it's a C program, it's a hello world program. But oftentimes people ask what are the libraries being used in Angry Birds or Clipboard, what is this library that Instagram is using, and things like that. So you can again extract the IPA file. So one of the files that's there within your payload is the binary file itself. So you can run O2 on this binary directly to see what are the frameworks being used. For example, I can see now it's using DYLib, Po Foundation, whatever, then IAD framework, mobile core services, all these libraries are being used in your application. Now the question comes whether you can actually extract the source code from this binary file. Well, up to a certain level it's possible, but it's not that straightforward. You can obviously put breakpoints in GDB and find out the memory space and the object space, and then run certain codes in your application. But I'll show you it's easy to find out. For example, so this gives you the information of the header file. This gives you what are the methods being used in the various applications, various classes. and if it makes sense, you can identify these methods, and it's easier for you to hack. Now the last thing probably I'm going to show before I end this conversation is how to run a custom code within my application. So what I've done is I've put a daemon on my iPhone app, so it's a background process, and when I'm going to telnet, so basically I don't need to SSH, when I'm going to telnet on the server, it's going to run certain code. So the code that I've written is this basically I'm accessing the address book directly, and I'm putting it in a file, then I'm extracting the address book. So and the daemon that I've put it runs on port 7, so I need to mention port 7 also. And I think it's closing because of some reason. Let me see if it's extracted something.
Telnet, not NM. Should be telnet, not NM. Should be telnet, not NM. You should be running telnet, not NM.
No,
You can't run NM on a IP address, right? You're running NM, not telnet. You can only run NM on a compiled object.
alright. Just NP. The telnet basically gives you the object, but if you want to extract the file, there is another command to access the file directly, the contents of the file. So if you see
SCP? Or
no. Because I'm running a background processor here, right? SCP you can do, SSL also you can do, but I'm running a background processor. So here if I do, it's printing something, right? It's the binary of that SQLite database. Anyway, I think I'll probably pass the slide. And it's just one command. Instead of telling you need to use it to put the address book. Then basically the question comes: how do you secure your app from getting affected by these sniffers or tools on a jailbroken device, right? So you can put jailbreak detection, and you can stop certain certain things to happen. So probably you can stop network access, or you can probably stop calling sensitive data or information. So one of the things that you can do is you can detect whether the application has got the CD application or not.
There is vibration there.
So I'm just running this on my device and see over here. So you can detect whether the device is jailbroken or not, and then you can stop running certain process or certain programs. I mean, this topic is really vast, and 45 minutes is too short to finish it. But if you want to catch me after this talk, you can always. I'll put the resources and the slide later. I have one announcement to make. We are part of iOS Dev Scout, and we have an iOS conference in February. And you can just follow the Facebook group or the Twitter account to know more details. And any questions from? Yeah.
Also, I have a secret key in my application to contact the server. So you said that you can inject the code, so bring down an object value. Can you bring? You mean that you can bring down that secret code?
Yeah, it's possible. So one of the things I can show you here is there's this command called strings. So this prints every string object, so you can find. I mean, basically you are raising the bars of this hacking. Nothing is entirely like secure. So
But your string should never be in plain text anyway.
yeah. So you can probably
normally we use Facebook application. We have the Facebook ID and Facebook secret
Well, if you put those
application. Then
Yeah.
So
How do you
username and
protect that?
password usually you shouldn't put in any of the resource files. So you can use the device keychain to access it. But again, if you're storing it in a string object, then you can use something called strings to extract it. And but basically everything is hackable.
Is there an option?
You're basically increasing the security level. How far a guy can go to hack this?
If I choose to use an encrypted SQLite
Yeah.
instead of SQLite, what would be your recommendations about holding the key itself? Where do you place the key?
So
Keychain.
using the key, if your application is in online mode, you can probably extract the key from a server. You can use HTTPS to extract the key from server and then decrypt the SQLite. So that is probably the most secure way.
Okay.
But whether it's going to delay the performance of the application, that's the call you need to take.
Okay. Thank you.
Map. So basically everything is objects, right? Whether it's a map or address book, everything is object, right? And once you have access to the address of that object, you can hack anything you want from that object. Starting from like whatever the attributes of the object, what are the messages that they're passing and everything. But
When the data is not in the network, it's still within the mobile, can we hack it in the network?
in the Mac, you're asking, right? Yeah. So basically, initially when I stored, so you are going to store that username and password somewhere, right? Whether it's a
No, when I get the username and password, I send out the
So there are two things. You can hack the data while it's on the network, but you are saying if it's not in the network, can you hack it, right?
No, what I mean is the data is saving in the memory, can put it in the memory.
Mm-hmm.
Can we hack the items memory?
I think I'll catch up with you.
Yeah.
Trading Dave's time. Thank you, guys.